Welcome to Service Headline News. I'm your host, Marty Smith, and I'm joined by Eric Perrott.
Hey, fellas, how's it going?
And Jake Wall.
What's going on, guys?
And we're here to bring you the latest headlines and updates pertinent to all servicemen and women. So sit back, get informed, and have a laugh as the Swearing In Podcast presents Service Headline News.
Woo!
And there was much rejoicing.
There will be rejoicing when Eric gives us his field report.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
Should we save that, or you want to hear it now?
No, I want to hear it now.
All right.
I'm
So,
looking forward to the chafing pictures.
yeah, well, we're going to talk about that. Deployed to the wonderful, hard environment of Maui, Hawaii.
Hard.
Hard. I took the body armor to the four corners of the most intense environments that Maui could offer.
What kind of body armor was it, Dr. Eric?
I did modify it to fit a male. However,
Don't play it off.
it was the military's attempt to support the women by providing a body
Or men.
or men.
No, we don't want to discriminate.
That's true.
The tactical bro.
The tactical bra. Some men can wear it, others struggle. I, on the other hand, can wear it.
Thanks.
It looks
Awesome.
good. However, in the extreme heat of the day, it caused major perspiration. You still
Nipple sweat.
require a high level of stench to you it.
That under moob sweat will add up.
The man boob undersweat.
Yeah, because you get that dark line right under your nipple. You know.
I don't know who this you is. Don't bring me into this.
And then as you go to the other environments, specifically the rainy side of the island, once the apparatus, I'm going to refer to it as the apparatus. Once the apparatus gets wet, it does create a level of chafing from your underarm.
Jake called that last week.
And in between your breast, men breast, what would I call that? Between your chest, and the
chest taint.
The weight increases drastically by 2.5 pounds.
Whoa.
It's a lot of absorption. You need to get on the quick dry.
All right.
That's right.
I do find it very familiar. I had a local throw a couple rocks at me. And it did deter from injuring me. It
Nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right.
So there was no penetration in that particular region of my body. So the device did work.
Thank you for clarifying that it was regionally specific
Right.
penetration.
So it did stop the penetrations, which was nice. Between sand, windblown, or thrown, it works very well.
Okay.
All right. So a couple drawbacks: sweaty, stench, weight.
Yeah.
But overall, for mission completeness, I believe the device can. I would recommend to the military that they implement for all women.
Not that part.
It also provided a great cushion to my lawn chair.
Nice.
When I was.
Let's get down to the real question. How hot did you look to the opposite sex?
Well,
On a 1 to 5 stars, what do you think Mrs. Eric would give you?
oh, for sure an 8.
Oh,
Nice.
Dude, I had my red, white, and blue Speedo on.
Yes. Very
As you do.
European.
Very American. It was red, white, and blue.
American
I had
European.
stripes across my ass. And with the bra on top, I was a sexy dude.
Yeah, nice. Good. All
Right?
right.
Huh?
I mean,
And so
Compliment.
it brought you some confidence.
Absolutely. And a couple whistles from locals.
Oh, good, nice.
Oh.
Did you experience the old deployment number bump?
So that 8
Really can't
rating,
respond
was
to
that was that a deployed 8?
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
It's a deploy date for sure.
Stateside 5.3.
Oh, if that.
Oh my God. Oh,
Well,
yeah,
thank you for that in-depth research and analysis. Obviously, more testing is needed.
right. Next time, photographs to give you some photographic evidence of
I like it.
its proof.
I'm sure DARPA is looking forward to your report. Now, on to something more important. How about this date in history, Eric? What do you got?
All right, guys. Well, we routinely talk in the past about military history, military movies, military TV series. Well, going back to the 1980s, there was nothing better than a TV series known as MASH. And on this day in history, February 20th, 1983, MASH had its finale, which drew an audience of over 100 million viewers.
I mean, I understand there was still only 3 stations plus PBS at that time.
Yeah.
But still 100 million people.
It was huge. And it
down
held
to
the
watch.
record for the most watched television program in American history for 27 years. Until the Super
Really?
Bowl. Yeah, till the Super Bowl in February of 2010. That sitcom.
Wow.
So it was 100 million Americans tuned in to the last episode, which was Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. And it was to the doctors, nurses, and staff of the fictional 407th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. And that was a great show, guys. If you ever remember watching some of those episodes,
You know what I liked about MASH is that it was most of the episodes were funny, but every once in a while they throw like a real heavy, serious one in there.
Oh, routinely.
And then you're just like, oh, good. Yeah.
I remember when the first colonel was killed in the helicopter crash.
Oh yeah, that was a tearjerker. Colonel Potter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, when they found out when he radar walked into the emergency room or the operating room and told him that his plane got hit and spun in and there was no survivors.
Oh, see, that was a tearjerker.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. They could never do it today, especially with Klinger.
Right.
Klinger, who constantly wore the dress because he wanted to get out on a Section 8 crazy person.
So, they don't make television series like that anymore. Period. They just don't.
No, that was pretty damn good. And even I think the finale was like 2 hours, I think, right?
I think so.
Because I remember where Hawkeye was he was like in a psychiatric thing, and they were and he was telling the story about he was on a bus load of people, and the one of the ladies they picked up a bunch of refugees, and then there was an enemy patrol going by, so they had to be quiet, and the lady had a chicken, and he told her silence that goddamn chicken, and so she broke the chicken's neck. And then later in the episode, as he's going through therapy, he remembers that it wasn't a chicken, it was her own baby. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's
right. It was brilliant writing. It was really fantastic writing.
Yeah. You know who the writer was? Do you guys know who the writer was?
No.
It's someone you should know. This was one of his first shows that he came out with. Let me find this guy's name again.
Well, here's a little bonus. I was 4 when it quit playing.
Oh yeah. I mean, in 83, I think I was 16. So, but it was an event. Like, it was unbelievable how that dominated everything, and everybody watched it. You know, it was we talk about like the Game of Thrones finale or something like that. You know, everybody was waiting for that thing to come out.
Yeah,
this was the same thing, and it's absolutely amazing. I mean, at the time, this talks about people who bought ads were paying, and this was 1983. They spent up to $450,000 in 1983 money.
Yeah.
That's Super Bowl ads now, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing the amount of people. It was a good show. The criticism of it is that it lasted like 4 times longer than the actual Korean War.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
Eric, it's the co-creator and writer was Larry Gilbert. Is
That's him. Yeah, that was him.
anyway, finale of MASH 40 years ago. Let's see. First story, tech news. From sandbox.us. U.S. Air Force AI pilot flies real F-16 in simulated dogfights. It's the most misleading thing, right? So I try to make sense of it. But in December, they just released over a 2-week span, a heavily modified F-16D Fighting Falcon took to the skies a dozen times with an empty cockpit and an artificial intelligence pilot at the stick. So basically, it was running all autonomous. It was all AI that they had programmed into this thing. It took off. It did maneuvers. It landed all with just an empty cockpit, right? It's the picture of it flying with nobody in there is really weird looking. The AI, it came from 2 different efforts. So there's 2 different AIs. There's DARPA, and then there's the Air Force Research Lab. They both have this AI that they're putting into this fighter and testing it back and forth. And it's doing all the maneuvers that it programs into it. It's taking off. It did like these air combat maneuvers that they programmed into it, and it performed awesome. So all they've done with it so far is they've taken the F-16 up, done the maneuvers, and then they land it all with AI. So there's no pilot. There's nobody on the ground controlling it. It's flying all on its own.
Doesn't it sound like we're talking about the movie Stealth?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It does.
It does. So we're just waiting for this thing to go rogue. But one of the questions I had is they had in the article is like, why not just do the same with the Predators or Reapers and teach them how to dogfight, right?
Yeah.
Predators and Reapers. What's that? What'd you say, Jake?
It's a totally different airframe.
It
is. Capabilities?
Yeah, it is. And you're right.
Totally different.
Because they have, I think locally they have it take off and land. But then once it's up, they transfer control over to a pilot and a sensor guy out of Whiteman in Missouri. Right. And those guys fly the shifts for 8 hours, 10 hours, however long it's up. But then when it's time to recover it, I think control goes back to the local guys and they land it. So a big remote control plane.
Yeah.
They talked to a pilot and he said the bigger problem with the Predators and Reapers is lag time. So he said it takes approximately 1.2 seconds for the Reaper signal to reach the pilot. And based on what he sees, the pilot makes a decision and inputs a response, followed by another 1.2 seconds of transmit time as the command is relayed back. As a result, it's not unusual for there to be 3 or more seconds lag between a threat presenting itself to the Reaper sensors and the aircraft actually responding to it. Okay, that makes sense.
So is there going to have to be something on the ground that mobilizes with this aircraft if it was to go to say a different country? Or could it be
which aircraft are you talking about? The F-16 that they're working on?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because there's nobody on the ground that controls it.
Right. I didn't know if it was going to be controlled like the same way the Predator or the Reaper is.
And it's not going to be.
Okay.
It's going to be all programmed. And then it will make adjustments based on the artificial intelligence that it has.
Interesting.
I know. It's really weird. On Monday, the Defense Department revealed a series of 12 advanced fight fighter maneuver or dogfighting test flights conducted between December 1st and 16th. And they did it. They call it the X-62 Alpha Vista, which is a heavily modified Block 30 F-16D fighting Falcon that had been converted by Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works. Is that the coolest name for research guys? Skunk Works, right?
So is there a picture of what this AI looks like, or is it like a device that plugs into something in the cockpit?
I think it plugs in, or for our simplistic explanation,
I would assume it's programmed in.
It is, but they were talking about switching AIs, and they can do it within a matter of minutes. So, it sounds like, I guess to the layman, maybe it's just a box that they plug in. They're like, okay, this is DARPA's AI. They unplug it, they plug the next one in. They're like, this is Air Force Research Labs AI. But apparently they can do it very quickly. So the researchers also did a series of virtual tests. So this is all in the simulator, using the two different AIs. Over the course of about 2 weeks, the AI flew against a variety of simulated opponents in a series of one-on-one engagements held both within and beyond visual range. And I think it won pretty much all of them. All right. But some of the conclusions they're coming out with the testers, and they're saying, hey, the AI wins almost every time when we put it in the scenario where it kind of knows where the enemy is.
Yeah, I was about to say, aren't you programming the bad guy as well?
Yes. And so there's a whole explanation. It gets really, really techy in this article, but it's talking about, as they're flying towards each other, the nose angle, the AI is able to correct the nose angle better than a human pilot can, which means that it puts its main gun better on the target than a human guy can, because it's more precise. It can make those more corrections. However, what they also found out was when they put it in scenarios where it didn't know where the enemy was, and maybe the enemy came up from underneath it or from an angle it wasn't expecting, it wasn't as highly performing as it was in the other scenarios.
And that is always going to be the factor where a pilot can't be determined. He'll do something that he's not supposed to, or he'll do something that's not expected. That's the unexpected piece of it.
And the two things I thought of was, yes, that's one of them, right? Where they're coming out of the sun, or they're coming up underneath them, or whatever. So it's going to have to figure out how to adapt to that. But then on the other hand, it'll probably be able to do much higher G maneuvers than a pilot could take.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I wonder what the level.
If I call back Maverick and put him up against Maverick, I think he loses every time.
Don't put anybody up against Maverick. Come on, Eric.
Okay.
I wonder what the G's are that a human can hold versus the airframe before it breaks.
Oh yeah. What's the envelope, right?
Yeah,
I don't know, but obviously this thing could push it to the envelope. And they also said one of the decision things that one of the reasons that the AI led to more victories was it would calculate a fight, and if it was at 51% chance that it would win, it would engage. Where a regular pilot would be like, those aren't great odds, I'm taking off. Right. But the AI was like, nope, we're going. One of the things that I think what they're trying to lead into with all of this is, I think one of the concepts they have is one manned aircraft, and then like 2 or 3 or 4 AI controlled wingmen. So they fly in, a ship of 4 or whatever it is, and 3 of those are drones or AI controlled.
Yeah.
So just one more thing for that guy to have to worry about, I guess, that pilot.
Well, that would be amazing. They're used like resources almost at a certain point, like missiles.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if
Just,
you're
hey, number 3, engage.
go tank for a while, draw his attention, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and we're gonna sacrifice you. Maybe. I don't know.
Hey, Jay, just FYI, 5 to 10 seconds at 4 to 5 Gs vertically typically leads to tunnel vision and then loss of conscious for humans.
Oh, okay.
And what was the G again? What was the how high?
Fighter jets can pull up to 9 Gs vertically, and when they have their G suits on, where it pushes the blood away from their legs and towards the brain, most can tolerate a 8 to 9 G, but not for long periods of time. It literally seconds.
Sure. See,
but
Maverick went to 10.
Oh, yeah, easy.
Well, that's why I said you got to put him up against this AI.
And if you're wondering, because I was wondering, do we really need planes to dogfight anymore? You know, I mean, that's pretty close. You know, even with some standoff missiles, that's still pretty. It seems like there's no need for it anymore.
Yeah, you're going to fire from 3 to 4 miles out.
Right. According to an article by Sandbox News, the most recent air-to-air kills, besides the balloon, the most recent air-to-air kill scored by an American aircraft came in 2017 when a U.S. Navy F/A-18E Super Hornet shot down a Syrian flag Su-22 as it bombed American-backed Syrians in Raqqa in Syria. They said the interaction wasn't much of a dogfight, but it was the first air-to-air engagement carried out by an American fighter since Operation Allied Force over Kosovo in 1999. But the last time American aircraft truly found themselves in some serious dogfights was in 1991 over Iraq. With more than 3 decades now separating today's aviators from America's last dogfights and stealth increasingly becoming the norm, it's no wonder the Defense Department seems to be leaning away from the idea that air-to-air combat in close quarters should be a priority.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't even think there have been that many dogfights in Ukraine and Russia.
It's almost like the concept of the battleship, right? Because that's what I mean. We were seeing our enemy and just trying to blow the hell out of them, right? But that's but with cruise missiles, or I mean ship launch missiles, you don't need the big guns anymore to shoot these guys.
You don't need to be in visual range.
Yeah. And when they do over the horizon stuff by the pilots, I don't know how you ever get close enough to dogfight. So
yeah.
But interesting. I thought that was some pretty interesting tech that they're coming up with. All to replace us. Remember back in January when President Biden said he was going to give some tanks over to Ukraine?
Oh, yeah.
I think he said he was going to give 31 tanks, right?
Abrams,
right?
Abrams.
They call them General Dynamics Land Systems tanks.
Is that the
Abrams?
Really?
I guess that's the official word for it, I suppose. Well, they were doing that because the capabilities meant to strengthen Ukraine's defenses against its Russian invaders for an anticipated onslaught this spring, which is right around the corner. But Abrams tanks will likely not reach the country before then. They may not even arrive until next year, the Army Secretary said last Thursday. Secretary of the Army Christine Wormuth said, "We're looking at what's the fastest way we can get tanks to the Ukrainians." This is funny how she says this. It's not going to be a matter of weeks. None of the options that we're exploring are weeks or months. They are longer timelines involved, but I think there are options that are less than 2 years, less than a year and a half, maybe. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being on the receiving end? Like you're like, yes, we're getting some tanks, we're getting some guns, whatever. And then they're like, oh yeah, in 2 years.
You guys ever get that notice from Amazon? It's like, hey, your shipment's been delayed. It's not gonna come on Friday. It'll probably come on Sunday. And you're like, God damn it.
Oh, get this. I just got an email the other day from a lieutenant on my government email account.
Yeah.
At the 533rd, the training squadron where I was assigned
Jeez.
from 05 to 09.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And this was the second notification the LT said I needed to go down to the mail room and pick up my mail.
Are you kidding me?
And so instead of sending a snarky email, I gave her a call.
Oh, why didn't you send the snarky email, man?
Yeah, because I was like, hey, LT. She's like, yes, sir. And I was like, I've been out of the military for 4 years and I haven't been assigned there since 09. So whatever it is, it's either already in effect or it's not important.
Yeah. Shred it,
I
please.
go, you're more than welcome to open it up and laugh at the ineffectiveness of the mail system, or you can just shred it.
I hope you complimented her on her doggedness to try to resolve this problem.
I did say, hey, I really appreciate you messaging me. And she goes, well, you're the only one in the global. So I'm sure if there was two of us, nope, would not have reached out.
No. And that lotto ticket that you won is still sitting in that Vandenberg mailbox.
Oh, no, she shredded it.
Oh,
It's gone.
She goes, I can kind of see what the message is about, and it's about a security leak. And I go, oh, yeah, that was probably like the OPM leak back in the day.
Yeah.
Where they gave, I don't know about gave, but
China collected your information.
China got a hold of everything in my background clearance.
Right.
And they were dissatisfied with what they found.
Yeah.
This guy can't give us any help.
This guy.
How is he even still in the military?
Yeah. I got put on the do not waste resources list.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, Ukraine's probably calling and said, hey, about that tank order, when's it coming? And they're like,
Leopards and the Challengers are arriving a lot sooner than that.
And Dom's like, don't answer the phone. Don't answer the phone.
It's fucking Zelensky again, man. Just tell him we're not here.
Dave's man. Dave's not here, dude.
Oh, very good Cheech and Chong reference.
Right.
The Secretary of the Army said there are a variety of different ways to produce the tanks, she said, from either building them from scratch, like the U.S. is doing for Poland, or draw them from the U.S. inventory, many of which are refurbished older tanks. Well, what's wrong with that? Right?
Not a thing.
And we're like, hey, we'll give you this used one.
Doesn't that make more sense anyway?
I mean, they should be happy. They're like, yeah, fine. We'll take your 30-year-old used tank. That's fine with us.
Your win percentages might go into effect. That percentage might go down.
Well, that's true. That's true. But that won't be us. That won't be us. She also noted, which is a good point. She also noted that it's not just delivering the tanks, but also support equipment like recovery vehicles, ammo, and a training package. So there's a lot of details still that need to be worked out. It almost sounds like the president announced it and then turned around and goes, hey, we can give him 31 tanks, right? And she's like, what?
We can do that, right?
I guess. Hold on.
That's where the question. Well, we do have fighting Bradleys, right? We can give them Bradleys in the interim, can't we?
I think we were sending them some Bradleys because the Bradleys are supposed to be on the way out.
Yeah, I thought there was like 50 of those.
But it's all this. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they used this to make some new contracts somewhere else. And like, well, we got to give all our tanks away. It's like you're giving 30 tanks away. Yeah, that's all of them.
Yeah, guaranteed.
We need to build some more. So
yeah,
suffice it to say, it probably won't get there by spring.
Wow.
Even if you do use Amazon, it's not going to get there by spring. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Too bad. Sorry, buddies.
The way they're using the javelins, that one dude, did you see a story about the Ukrainian guy that shot like 5 using the javelins?
Was that real?
Oh yeah, okay, good question.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to believe that's coming out.
Yeah, reference the Ghost of Kiev.
Good
That's
point.
the pilot. That was that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But this guy supposedly took out 5 Russian tanks with javelins, and they were starting to call him some miracle soldier with the javelin.
He is tidy whities the whole time. To assert dominance.
I mean, javelin's 45 pounds worth of kick ass, man.
Yeah, javelin's that's a good weapon. But I had heard something about as much as we're giving over to Ukraine that we're depleting our own stockpiles of just weapons and ammo.
I believe that too.
It's like,
well, okay.
Damn.
So as much as we gave away right now, just recently, do you think that maybe all the stuff we left in Afghanistan and all the stuff we decommissioned after Afghanistan, that might have had an effect on it too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yep.
And I did see a brief article about the stuff in Afghanistan, that there's Taliban who's learning to like fly the helicopters now or learn to operate some of the vehicles we left over there. And I was like, figures.
Yeah.
You took all the keys, right? Before you left? Yeah, I got all the keys. How are they starting them up? I can't figure it out.
Push button, Gene.
We thought that would stop them.
Oh,
you locked the doors. Yeah, but there's zippers.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a swipe at the Army here. Now, this Major Nolan Johnson, okay, this is from the Army Times on Monday. Major Nolan Johnson, he's an active duty civil affairs officer. He has deployments to Afghanistan, Indonesia, and South Korea. He previously worked as his brigade's lead project officer for the implementation of health and holistic fitness. The views and opinions expressed in this article are those of the author and do not reflect the official policy or position of any organization. So this is an editorial he wrote primarily about the Army's health and AAFES. So, okay, I'm just going to read through this. He writes, in 1906, Teddy Roosevelt mandated the Army's first physical fitness test. I didn't know that. I thought that was interesting.
I didn't know that either.
Since then, the Army has revisited its physical readiness programs repeatedly, seeking to find a cure for poor fitness and obesity. Today's health and holistic fitness program is the latest incarnation in this long line of efforts, and unfortunately, it will fail like each effort before it. It's like, yeah, starting off with a bang.
Optimistic.
Yeah, right. He says it will not fail because the science is wrong, or because equipment and training are lacking, or because leaders are not earnestly committed to it. It will fail because it applies a downstream solution to an upstream problem. Just as we can't expect to clean up a river by collecting trash at its mouth while a factory continues to dump sludge into it, we can't expect to create a fit force while the Army and Air Force Exchange Service, AAFES, continues to pollute our soldiers' bodies. It's very poetic.
Wow.
Very poetic.
Can't give up Anthony's Pizza.
Well, it gets worse than that. He says it is time to align AAFES' mission with the Army's mission and put readiness over profits.
Wow.
I don't know about profits, but...
So he's basically, is he just talking about the food court, though?
No, he's talking about like the shopette, right? So he says today's active duty force abuses alcohol 20% more than the general population, smokes 50% more, and has a 17% obesity rate despite access to nutritionists, gyms, and wellness centers. What about the Army lifestyle explains how America's healthiest 1% can join the Army only to become so unhealthy? What explains the 0 to 17% transformation in obesity from recruit to soldier?
Are those facts really true?
I don't know. That's that's a lot. That's
That is a
really
lot.
over the top. Yeah, I agree. Well, the smoking, yeah, I can believe that.
Still
Well,
today.
And chewing.
Yeah,
And
easy.
honestly, we discussed that last week, right? Lemonade Lucy clearly was right.
That's right.
Um, but it is a cultural thing.
It is absolutely, especially when you're talking about, and these are all things, right? Alcohol, tobacco. I don't know about eating, but I suppose that can be thrown in there too. But they're all coping mechanisms.
Yeah,
right.
For
and
sure.
in a high stress job like that, you take some of that stuff away. I mean, it might cause more people not to enlist.
Yeah. So I think the like freshman 15, it kind of also applies to the military in that the brand new kids, brand new recruits, like, oh, I have my own money and I have full access to fast food.
Right.
I'll tear it up.
Sure. I mean, it's either that or the chow hall, right?
Yeah.
Well, every installation has a McDonald's or a Burger King on it now.
Yeah.
It does. And Anthony's Pizza and
what's Dunkin'. That sandwich shop that's normally on there too?
Robin Hood.
Yeah, it was always by Anthony's. Robin Hood.
I remember Robin Hood, but they got Subways in there now. But they got Dunkin' Donuts in them now, and that's just a Buckley. So I can't, they got Domino's in there now. So, but still, I want to get down to where here's one paragraph and get your guys' response to this. So he says a large part of the answer can be found in your nearest shopette. Last year, AFI stores posted sales exceeding 5 billion. 5 billion.
Wow.
Largely by enabling our addictions to dip, Doritos, and drinking. I don't know if that's a big jump right there, right?
I don't know if I buy that either. Come on.
Exactly. On every base, AFIS offers tobacco at state minimum prices, deals on candy bars, and alcohol without tax. That's true. Class 6. Can't be beat. Soldiers can either embrace these cheap, unhealthy options or take a 30-minute trip off post to find healthy options that cost a premium. I don't buy that because it's not the only thing that AFI sells. It's just garbage. They sell other stuff.
Right. And there's not a McDonald's or a Burger King or something else outside the gate.
There's all you can eat pizza buffets outside the gate.
Everything.
So the results are obvious. For a force pressed on time and money, 2-for-1 Monster Energy drinks, discounted hot dogs, and chewing tobacco are the regular lunch plan. And I don't know. I don't know why he's saying chewing tobacco. I think smoking's worse than chewing tobacco. But
yeah, but like people, like the military dips at an alarming rate.
Absolutely. That's where I started dipping, was in the military.
Yeah, remember? Well, you remember in the desert where
when they ran out,
they turned off the dip supply and people were freaking out.
I was freaking out a little bit.
I know you were.
It sucked, man. It almost made me quit until I think McCaskey got a shipment from home. And I was
he got like 2 logs and then you were bootlegging it in. But the AFIs, so as far as like enabling and stuff like that, go to if you've ever been to Nellis, the AFIs there, or the Class 6 there, has a whole cooler, like a walk-up Pepsi machine size cooler of energy drinks, and then right next to it is a whole cooler of Pedialyte.
Oh, no shit. Really?
Yeah. And you know what happened? Like,
that's smart.
Weapons School is notorious for drinking. Red Flag notorious for drinking.
Yeah.
Right. The end of every episode or every exercise.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? Yeah, and you get the Pedialyte, put those electrolytes back in, fight that hangover, and you're right back in it.
You call it choir practice after every exercise.
See?
Oh yeah.
Well, he's saying we can hold AFIS to a higher standard without competition of shareholders. AFIS doesn't need to prioritize profit. I don't think it prioritizes profit. I think prices are much. You don't get that big of a break shopping at the shopette now than you did before.
Yeah.
The difference between a shopette price and a 7-Eleven price is almost the same, just without the tax.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I've seen the tobacco go up, and I'm like, what happened to like $1.50 a can? Now it's the same price as 7-Eleven almost.
Is everything at the shop at still tax free, or is that just liquor?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just liquor. I don't know. That's a good point. It's supposed to be lower prices, and even when I go to like commissary, I don't see like it being that significantly lower that I'm going to shop at the commissary versus a regular supermarket. I've noticed that over the last 20 years too. It's like AFES
Same
is
with
not,
gas.
Yeah, same with gas. Gas is not significantly cheaper.
Nope, that's right.
So all of this, and he talks about AFES profits and how they give money away, and AFES is not for profit, but yet they donate all this money from AFES to fit centers and holistic health stuff. I didn't know they were doing that.
Well, I know they support a lot of MWR activities as well.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
So here's the kicker on this paragraph, and I'm just going to read it and get your response to it. When CVS banned tobacco products from its stores in 2014, its customers did not go elsewhere to buy tobacco. Convenience proved to be a key part of their habit. As a result of the ban, nearly 2 out of 5 smokers who bought cigarettes at CVS quit rather than travel to another store to buy tobacco. An AFES-wide ban could equate to nearly 160,000 soldiers quitting and the Army saving nearly $2 billion in lifetime medical costs alone. Even a more modest 5% increase and tighter clean air policies could result in 80,000 soldiers quitting.
I don't buy it one bit.
I didn't buy it either.
Not one bit.
And you know what that is? That's the California concept. Right?
Oh,
we'll just raise the price of everything sky high, and people will just quit instead.
They'll find it another place.
Yeah, they'll bootleg it.
Absolutely. That's like saying the bad guys won't find guns if we ban them.
Oh, good example, Eric. Yes, that is good.
So just a question then, because I'm thinking about it, and it might have been a change in culture, but when I first came in, I'm thinking about how many people were at the smoke pit or right outside the door because they didn't have smoke pits at that point in time.
Yeah, right.
Versus later on at the end of my career, how many smokers I actually knew.
Good point. That's fair. I mean, there is some merit to it. Yeah. Because, you're right. I mean, I remember when I was in the Army and our sergeant first class sleeping in the Humvee would wake up with this coughing fit until he lit his first cigarette. And then he was like smoothed out. But he had this hacky cough, and you're like, platoon sergeant's up. And he just like, is he dying again? It's like, no, that's what he does. Until he took that first cigarette. So those days are over, right?
Yeah.
And there are much less smokers. But what about vaping?
Yeah, that's a whole.
Yeah,
I would assume that he's talking about everything, but I don't know if you can buy vape products at the BX.
Yeah, I don't
know just because I don't mess around with it, but that was one habit I never got into.
Yeah.
Tobacco?
Yeah.
So I guess the question ultimately, does an increase in cost result in a reduction of addiction to something?
It didn't for me.
I don't think it would either.
It just kept going up, and I was like, fuck, I got to quit. But I can't.
But Marty, though, you just said, though, it wasn't cost that made you quit. It was availability.
Yeah, that's true. Which is right in line with what he's talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Removing it, right? Removing
the ease of access, making it difficult for them to find, or I mean, at least for them to put some effort into getting.
That makes more sense. I can see that.
I started because there were 3 guys that I liked, and we're in the middle of the night, and I was like, I got to stay up, man. Let me try that. And from there, and then there was a group of us, who would always bum from each other, and it was kind of almost fraternal at that point. And I think smoking is kind of the same way, right? You knew who the smokers were. They knew each other. You spend a lot of time smoking with each other.
Yeah.
But if that never gets started because there's no access to it, I don't know. It just seems I agree with that in principle, but that energy is going to find a way into something. I mean, it's like, okay, we got them off cigarettes. Good. They're not smoking anymore. Oh, they're vaping their guts out.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I look at across all these young airmen or young soldiers, and they're all vaping. They're not smoking. They're not dipping, but they all share vapes. They all, hey, give me some juice or whatever the hell it is. Right. And they're all, I mean, there's more vapors than I ever saw smokers.
These kids these days and their vapey juice.
And it's all like, it's all sweet, birthday cake. It's
it's
all
maple syrup and
banana. It's all little infantile kind of flavors, yummy flavors.
What's funny though? Back in the day, and it may not have applied to you guys when you came in, but when I came in, the whole term of smoke them if you got them, the guys that smoke cigarettes got to go fucking sit on a bench somewhere. And the rest of us never got a break. We had to keep doing what the hell we were doing.
that was the one thing I was going to say. I was always envious of the smokers because they were standing around outside, joking around.
Yeah.
And we were still working. Yeah, we were still working. We're looking on enviously.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would just put a cigarette in their mouth just to freaking go out. They didn't even smoke it. Just put it in their mouth.
Well, sure. I understand what he's saying, but I also think you're trying to appeal to, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and they're trying to deal with stress, and they're getting yelled at, and they got to stay up late hours. If you take that stuff away, I think they're just going to turn to something else. It would be nice to go, hey, I have no addictions because I wasn't ever available to them.
You know what? Instead of smoking, I'm going to go for a jog.
Right.
I'm gonna make me a green kale salad.
Yeah.
That sounds much better.
I think what they'll be doing is like, well, we can't smoke. I got a lot of energy. Let's fight. let's just fight.
Oh, that's a little motivation. Yeah.
You can see that actually happening too.
And it's like, see, that energy's got to go somewhere. And where it's going to go, I don't know,
Yeah.
And I just don't think vaping is as satisfying. Maybe it is. But if they're still saying, hey, the force is not fit, I don't think it's, what did he say? Dip Doritos and and alcohol that's making them fat. Yeah.
And it might be a systemic problem. Like it's more of a societal issue than
that's true.
An atheist issue.
That's true. And who's to say that the chow hall food is all that great? I mean, I was eating chow hall food in Qatar. I didn't lose a pound, man. I had to stop eating that.
Well, they were designed to put calories on you. It was almost like MREs, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. All that food is so dense.
Yeah.
And starchy, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh God. But there's some people gain weight after deployment.
Oh yeah. I've seen a lot of people just ease of access, and I've seen people gain a lot of. You either lose weight or you gain weight on a deployment. Nobody comes back the same,
That's That's true.
You're either jacked because you're doing 45 minutes a night on a stair stepper, eating 4 chicken breasts. That's it.
Right.
Or you got your Admiral Nelson and freaking sweet juice with your cheesy bugles.
Oh, man.
That's 2 shows in a row you brought up cheesy bugles.
That's what I was. It was a callback. It was a callback.
So anyway, that was his opinion on it. And I don't know. I think we've tried, although it may prevent some people from even starting a habit, or it may work for some to quit, but
Yeah.
banning a substance to kind of force behavior. I think we tried that in prohibition, right? That didn't seem to work too well.
You're hard pressed, man.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to stay in shape, that's more than just your food choices.
Yep.
It's also
speaking of that prohibition, with like, I don't know how many states, 40 something states have medical weed, and
yeah,
I think almost over half have recreational weed now.
I think so. Might be more than half, but yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, that's a losing tide. You're losing ground on that.
But they're not smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, when do you think the military is going to be, okay, you can smoke them on your off duty hours?
I don't know. I go to the VA and still have to wear a mask. They haven't let that shit go.
Yeah.
I thought everybody in Colorado, everywhere else is cutting it off, though, right?
What's that? Cutting what off?
The mask at the hospitals.
Yeah, not the VA.
Is the VA still mandating that?
Yeah.
The VA still mandates it in, well, I don't know. As of last November, the hospital still mandated it, kind of.
Oh, did they really?
It's coming to an end, though, right now in Colorado. I saw that on the news.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, it's coming to an end.
There you go.
But it's still, federal government is clinging to that, even though that all these reports are coming out that it doesn't even do anything.
Yeah.
What do you think that'll do? Like, let's say next year they say, all right, everybody can smoke them. What do you think that'll do to background clearances?
I don't know. I mean,
that's what my job is. The discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you right now, if someone comes to someone a job and they have smoked marijuana within 1 year,
wow,
we can't do it.
Wow.
If you tell us that you haven't done it for a year, we can put you in and it'll be, validated through the investigation process. But if you go into a harder substance, cocaine or any of those, that's a 2 year. You're supposed to say,
sure. Yeah, sure.
A few years.
Hey, so here's the thing. All you're relying on at that point in time is what they're saying.
Absolutely. That is
right? Because I don't think you could test for any of that over multiple years, can you?
No, my company does an initial drug test.
Yeah. But mine too.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody does like a random.
This was the first company since I've gotten out that actually did an initial drug test.
Yeah.
Really?
That was it. The other two didn't at all.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Huh.
Here's a fun fact. You can fail a drug test from being too hydrated. And
really?
And I've had kidney stones in the past and I felt one coming on.
Yeah.
So I was doing nothing but chugging water.
Yeah.
For like 2 weeks straight, like nonstop. And then they said, okay, you got to go do a drug test. I was like, oh, okay. And I go and I scan in and it said, you have a 50-minute wait. And this is my first time doing it in the civilian world.
Huh.
I'm used to going, signing a piece of paper and having some dude look at your weenie while you pee in a cup, right?
That's right.
That's normal to me.
All right. Yeah. Good point.
So I go in and I scan and it's like a 50-minute wait. And I went in ready to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man. So, okay, I was like 50 minutes. So I went and I peed and then I went to the car and I like chugged a whole Nalgene bottle.
Oh shit.
because I'm like, I got to go again in 50 minutes.
Yeah, might as well.
Man, that whole situation was way different. Like the lady took me back and did the blue dye in the toilet, turned off all the water.
Oh,
to the
she
room,
did?
everything.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I gave her that pee and it was clear as heck.
That's no good, man. That's no good.
There wasn't a tint of anything. And like nothing.
Fail.
Yeah, so it was failed. And then they're like, go do it again. And I was like, man, I'm still having kidney pains. I'm still drinking a ton of water. So the next time I went in there, I got up, I drank nothing but coffee and ate my morning vitamins.
Nice.
And gave it to him. I was like, here's some neon yellow.
Yeah, I was gonna say
like you got nothing but vitamin B right in that thing. Yeah. So they were probably like, this guy is definitely hiding something.
Oh, salt potassium. Salt potassium.
Yeah.
It's almost orange.
Banana.
You guys know what Index is, right? You've been on exercise with like Index.
That's when Guy Green comes on and sings the song.
When who?
What's the guy's name? The country singer Green. What's it?
Lee Greenfield?
No.
Green Jeans?
Lee Greenwood.
Oh, Lee Greenwood.
Lee Greenwood. In his songs, I'm Proud to Be American.
Yeah.
Every exercise in Korea ended after that song. When Index was called, he would sing that song over the loudspeaker, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's when we knew it was over.
Well, that probably took my whole joke away, actually.
Oh my
that
God.
was a much better story than I had planned. now I'm embarrassed to say what I was going to say.
Oh,
yeah. Well, anyway.
My bad.
I was going to say this is the end of the episode, so this is
Index.
End up. But you snaked me with that Lee Greenwood story.
That was a military dad joke.
Yep.
It was. And it was even worse. I gotta cut it. Yeah. On behalf of all of us here, I'd like to thank you for listening today. Please like, share, subscribe, and let us know how we did in the comments. And as always, make sure to download the next episode for more Service Headline News. Gentlemen, thanks for the week. I'll see you next week.
Good night, guys. Have a good one.
Good night, guys. And as always, Eric, lube up. That chafing will not go away on its own.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.
I've missed it so.
Lube up.